Jimmy Salisbury does a great job covering the Phils for CSNPhilly.com. He was actually, I got to give him a ton of credit when we pop him up because he literally came on the air about 4 or 5 months ago and said Aaron Nola was going to have a breakout season. So, Jimmy, you called that one from the get-go, pal. How you been?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing well. It wasn't too hard, but still, yeah.
He's an awfully talented guy, and he's gotten stronger after that injury. He really wants to work on his whole body, especially his legs and his core. That's it's just helped everything about him. He's stronger. He's riding that fastball more. He's a more complete pitcher. He's very smart. He's gained experience, and now we're seeing an all-star, and a guy who really is moving into that ace territory.
Listen, and you can make, the way he's pitching this year in a wide-open NL, you can really make a strong argument. Right now, he's one of the leading candidates in the NL for Cy Young Award winner. I'm curious, though, are you, it's a loaded question, are you as disappointed as I am in the performance or at least the inconsistencies of Jake Arrieta? Because I was pretty vocal. I wanted them to go out and get him, but I just... maybe if he turns around in the second half of the season, it's almost like a midseason acquisition. But talk a little bit about Arrieta and his struggles.
I think it's completely fair to say June was a disappointment. Just as I think it's completely fair to say, he was spectacular in the month of May. And they're going to need him to pitch like – I don't know that he's ever going to pitch like the Jake Arrieta of 2015. But they're going to need him to pitch like a veteran who has been there and done that, and who is good and really good more often than not in the second half because, Nola is still young, 25. Zach Eflin's young. The balance of that rotation is young. And, I don't care what anybody says. It's different when you're pitching independent rates. It's different when you're into August and September and the innings start to mount and fatigue starts to set in, both physical and mental, with the grind of the pennant race. So he's really he's an important piece in that second half. Been there, done that guy, and he needs to exhibit those qualities.
No, listen, I agree 100% because postseason baseball, as you alluded to, it's a different animal. It really is.
Even August, September.
Yeah, sure.
It's a different animal. That's not postseason. When you're shooting for the postseason for the first time in your career, it's a different animal.
When you look at this team, and listen, they're a pleasant surprise, and I know a lot of people thought, a year, 2, 3 away, but the more I start to look into this and take a step back, and you look at the way the NL is, listen, I don't know if Washington's going to be able to figure it out because they've been an enigma. They're so inconsistent. The Braves are a young team as well, so I'm wondering within that locker room with the Phillies, they're probably thinking to themselves, why not us? If there's maybe ever a year to take advantage of it, this is the year.
They're definitely thinking that way, and it starts with the manager. Honestly, he's said that from day one of spring training that he expects to be in the postseason, and we all looked at him like he was kind of wacky and being Mr. Upbeat, Mr. Positive. Well, it's July 11th and they're a game up in first place, so there is a why not us element in that clubhouse. And with every passing day that they stay in this thing, and they've been in it all year, and they've had some peaks and valleys. They've dug themselves out of a couple holes late May, early June. I think a lot of confidence has grown from that. So, yeah, they believe they have a chance. They're going to need some help from the front office. And you know what? They're putting some pressure on the front office in showing that maybe this window of contention is opened a year earlier than management thought it would. And now it's incumbent on management to try to, go out and improve the product and improve the team because, these opportunities don't come along every day. I think with the right pieces, they can get to October in a less than powerful National League. October, I don't know how long they can stick around,
right.
But I think they can get to October, and I think getting there really important for the team's maturation, the team's growth, and just the city's embrace of the team.
Yeah, I looked at their stretch of games in June, and you tell me if you agree with this, where my thinking was, okay, listen, you just got to go out. You win series after series. You had that tough stretch. Anytime you have to go out and play the Dodgers in San Francisco and the Cubs on the road, that's going to be a tough stretch. But then you come back, okay, you stubbed your toe against Milwaukee. You take 2 out of 3 against Colorado. You come back and take 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. Then they start to win series after series after series. No shame in losing to the Yankees. But you've kind of owned Washington. You beat up on Baltimore. You take 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh, and now you're beating up a pretty bad Mets team. Those stretch of games, that's when I really started to say, okay, this team's got something here. when you get through that road stretch and you get you take care of some of those tough opponents, because those were tough games, and I don't think a lot of people looked at their schedule right around mid-May to where we are now and thought, okay, they were going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I think it was a 42-game stretch. Maybe I'd have to look it up, but I think it was maybe starting with the Dodgers that we thought was going to be all right, make or break. It's been a nice start. This is going to be a real tough stretch here against all winning teams, and a number of those teams, elite teams that have kind of been to the postseason and have real talented rosters. And then you look up when the 42-game stretch is over, and they go 21-21. They go from 9 up. I think they were, when it started, they were like 9 over 500, and when it finished, they were 9 over 500. So that's more than holding your own for a young team. Stayed right in it, and then kind of took off a little bit in recent days after that. So that stretch, I think, proved to a lot of people that they get a chance, and I think it proved to everybody in that clubhouse that they have a chance, and they're just playing with so much more confidence, even more confidence than when they started off the season pretty good.
What's your overall thoughts on the acquisition of Santana? Because I know people, they've been texting and calling in, and I explained to them, listen, he's notoriously slow starter in April, May. The power numbers will eventually be there. Yeah, the average has dropped substantially. He's right around 216, but he gets on base, he walks, and he's got the glove. So if he gives you a couple big at-bats, say in September, the late August, September, it's almost you're getting a return on the investment. Is it just switching different parks here for Santana? I mean, is he not – what is it in your estimation?
He's had a tough time digging out of that batting average, but honestly, there's so much more to it than just batting average. Strong on-base percentage.
Yep.
He's shown some power. His numbers since May 1 are pretty good. I still think it's been a very sound acquisition in that it's lengthened your lineup, giving you another bat. I can only, if they didn't, offense to me is this team's weakness. They go like 5 deep in their offense, in their lineup. If they didn't have him, now you're only 4 deep. So I still think it's been a good acquisition. He's another guy like Arrieta who I think has to take it to another level, though, in the second half, because such a young clubhouse that has never been in, pressure cooker games, and he has been. So he needs to even show more in the second half. But I think he's done quite a bit in the middle of that lineup with his ability to get on base. He walks a ton. He's always had a history of walking a ton. I think he's even walking more than ever now. And some of that is they just don't have a whole lot behind them. And I think they need to get another bat in there to try to strengthen that lineup, add another, lengthen that lineup,
yep.
As they go into the second half.
What do you I mean, I know there's a couple of rumors out there. I'll ask you about Machado in a couple moments, but I'm curious, so many people were getting ready to write off Maikel Franco, and you look what he did last night. I think he drove in 4. Again, I think maybe he's just, I don't want to say the game's slowing down or he's starting to learn or get it. I know those are overused cliches, but sometimes they want him to do certain things at the plate that he just can't do. But the bottom line is he's been pretty consistent. I mean, right away. And now he's sizzling, to be honest with you. I thought people were writing this kid off way too fast.
Well, it's funny. I don't know that a lot of people have been writing off Maikel Franco. I mean, he's a talented player. I think he's up to 270 now. The last 21 games, he's been great. He's been really the team's best hitter. I just think, you have to kind of watch on how the front office operates. They want to build a lineup that around hitters like Santana, who see pitches, like Hoskins.
Right. See
pitches, grind down pitchers, wear out pitchers, get on base. That is not Maikel Franco.
No.
So you say to yourself, well, he doesn't have he's not the type of player they want to build around. And now then they start, early in July, they basically start sitting him quite a bit for J.P. Crawford. They start playing J.P. Crawford at third base, essentially out of position, and Michael goes to the bench. And then when J.P. Crawford gets hurt, they play a utility guy in Valentine down in Washington. And the next night, Michael gets back in there and has 4 hits. But then they drop him to 8th in the batting order. And it's like, how many times do you have to be hit in the face with all this to realize that they're phasing him out?
Right.
For now, he's here, and he's helping them win ball games, and I think he's helping his trade value because I don't think he's here long term. I'd be surprised if he's here next year. I just don't think he's – and I like the guy. I think he's got a lot to offer, especially when he's hot like he is now. But I just don't think don't think they want to move forward with him.
Okay.
I think they'd like to upgrade that position and get a guy that fits more of the mold that they want to build around.
Interesting point on that. And he's finally, listen, the numbers aren't great for starting third baseman, but he's finally an above-average hitter. With that being said, I mean, all right, I'll ask you the question. Listen, I think they have to add a little more to the bullpen. I've thrown out a name like Brad Hand as well. I think they need another bat, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on the whole Machado take, right? Because, there's pros and cons to this. I mean, ultimately, from what you're hearing, from what you know, are they a serious contender and player to make a trade for Manny Machado? And if they are, what do you think they would have to give up?
I think they'd have to give up a ton. I think, and they're reluctant to give up a ton, especially for a guy who can walk. They don't want to give up top guys for. If he would sign an extension, I think they'd become more serious players. But I also think there's a ton of teams in it for him. I'd keep an eye on the St. Louis Cardinals. I know, the Yankees are buzzing a little bit. That just seems to me like the Orioles trying to build a market for the guy.
Oh, absolutely. He's no fit. He's not a fit in New York with Torres and Andujar. Yeah. And I mean, it's just not a fit and Didi.
Yeah. And he'd be a great fit in Philadelphia. It's just going to take probably a major league ready starting pitcher, and then you have three top prospects, and they're just reluctant to do that for like I said, for a rental guy. Maybe Franco's hot streak causes them to back off seeking an upgrade for the final 2 months at that position. Maybe they try to ride him. But I do think they need to lengthen that batting order and get something in there behind just the top five. I also think they could really benefit from a left-hander who really knows what he's doing in the bullpen, or maybe he can pitch late in the game, because they're going to. I'm not ruling out Washington by any means.
I know
they're going to be a player in this thing, especially with their starting pitching. They have a whole bunch of left-handed bats that give the Phillies trouble. The Atlanta Braves have a bunch of left-handed bats, Freeman and Marquez. I mean, you look at the first weekend of the season, the Phillies were stressing about Freeman and Marquez, causing all those bullpen snafus down in Atlanta on Easter Sunday weekend, if you remember. So that's going to be there again in September. So I think it would be really good to get a left-hander. The price of Brad Hand is going to be way up there. The price of Zach Britton is going to be way up there.
Okay.
If Phillies management believes that the window's open, we need to jump through this thing now, they might have to pay the price for a guy like that. I think a guy like that could be a real difference maker, especially if you could get a guy like Britton who could close. I mean, now you got Sir Anthony as kind of a 4 or 5 out kill shot.
Yep.
Maybe every other night in the 7th, 8th inning. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it comes together the next 3 weeks. I do think they have to make a trade. I do think they will make a trade.
Listen, I kind of echo your sentiments in closing. I look at a guy in Brad Hand, and you got a lefty. It's a commodity. He's got 24 saves. Listen, the Padres are in last place in the NL West. I think they're 12 back behind the Diamondbacks. I mean, to me, that type of acquisition can kind of be when the Indians acquired Andrew Miller. I mean, that's how highly I think of this kid. And, again, I was looking at his numbers, too, Jim. He's under contract through 2020, but the contract it's pretty reasonable when you take into account his signing bonus. And then I think in 2021 he's got a $1 million buyout. So, in closing, I'm curious, as I let you get out of here, do you believe the front office, to a man, is thinking to themselves, all right, if we make one more move, we know we can definitely contend for that wild card spot, maybe for the division. Okay, maybe we're not ready for the World Series, but still the NL is wide open. Or do you think they're content where they are right now? And, okay, we'll just compete and we'll ride it out as is.
That's a great question. I mean, coming out of spring training, I think the front office would have been very, very content to push 500 to compete a little bit because I still think they were looking at it as maybe a 4-year road to contention for this new front office. And next year will be Clintack's 4th year. But, in a town like Philadelphia and with an owner like John Middleton, who is very aggressive and wants to win, I think they do see this as a window that they need to jump through and try to get to the postseason this year. I still think they're going to have an eye toward the future and think their best days are ahead of them. So they're not going to zero out their farm system, wipe out their farm system for one move. But I do think if they make a couple decent moves, get a hitter, get a reliever, then they can sneak into October and stay there. But the biggest test is going to be from within. If these starting pitchers can hold up in the month of August and September, because that's when the crucible
Yep.
is going to start kicking in. When you're going for a postseason for the first time, it's different. And they have the talent to hang there, and we're just going to see if they have the stomach. I know Nola does. I really believe Nola does. He's pitched in a lot of big games going back to LSU, and you might laugh at that, college baseball, but a lot of pressure to win at LSU. And he's a very poised, smart guy, and he's got a good stomach.
I'll tell you what, meaningful baseball perhaps in August and September. So I think that's what really one's looking for, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun, and it's already been fun. They're a fun team to watch. And capitalist methods are different. They're different. But you know what? It's a results-oriented business.
It is.
Bottom line business, and you know what? They were 30 games over 500 last year. Now they're 12 over in the first place. This guy's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we're far removed from opening day and the first week of baseball when people wanted to run them out of town. So, all right, Jim. I always appreciate the insight, pal. I appreciate you making a couple moments on a Wednesday. We'll certainly talk along the way. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rich. Have a great day.
You got it. Take care of yourself.